Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another whiteboard session. This is the Nakshatra Gurukul that I have started on my YouTube channel. And whiteboard is a refreshing, thought-provoking series of interviews that I do with researchers, scholars, students of Nakshatras who come and present their original findings and teach us new ways of understanding and mastering the divine secrets of these lunar mansions. So today we have Dr. Kanholy Santhip Krishnan. You know, he's been here many a times on my channel, and he's a star guest that I always have. It's always an honor to have him on my channel. And today he's going to teach us some new themes, some new techniques, and also, enlighten us with the Magha Nakshatra. So welcome, Santhip. Welcome on my channel again.
Yeah, Dr. Pai, as I always say, it's always an honor. It's a bigger honor for me to be on my teacher's Astrology channel, YouTube channel. And it's always an honor just learning from you more and getting to discuss all of these Nakshatra themes again with you more. Because it's already a process for me, and the more I share, the more I learn, and more I listen, the more I learn too. So thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah. Dr. Krishna, this is the same thing. You know, I reciprocate the same thing, because whenever I teach or whenever I listen to people like you teaching, I get more insights, and then that's how I learn these nakshatras better. So this exchange of information and these discussions are very important, and that's what makes these discussions much more worthwhile. Now, before you commence today's lesson, Sandeep, on the most important Magha Nakshatra. Why I say it's most important is because you have Rahu now transiting into Magha as we speak. And that's why you see a lot of information, coming out these days on various YouTube channels, many astrologers talking about so much of information is overflowing. Now, sometimes I wondered, why was this happening? You know, Rahu has come into Magha. And that's when I started understanding about how the Ketu nakshatras operate. Okay. Now, Ketu, if you see, Ketu is, whenever you connect it with especially Ashwini nakshatra. I've seen Ashwini is again another Ketu nakshatra. And it gives you some psychic abilities. I've seen people with Ashwini Nakshatra having psychic abilities, and they can also make them masters of healing arts. And whenever we go to Mula Nakshatra, which is another Ketu ruled nakshatras, I've seen a lot of natural healing and healing herbs, people using, spices, using tantric healing and all of that. But whenever we come to Magha, I've seen healing of persons also. I've seen through astral entities, or you can say spirits also coming and healing you. And also you can see this strong connection with Magha Nakshatra and meditation, right? Usually what you see is most of these Ketu natives, they have a unique ability to go unnoticed. And sometimes they merge into a crowd of common folks or common people. That's what Ketu does. You wouldn't suspect that somebody who has a very strong Ketu ruled nakshatra, they would be very, very prominent outside, but they have very unique ability to go very, very under the radar, very, very unnoticed. And that is something what has fascinated me about all these Ketu ruled nakshatras. And whenever I started studying them in greater detail, I found out that Ketu is associated also with your puja room.
Interesting.
Right? And they say Ketu is very strongly connected with the space or the place under the staircase at home. If you have a staircase, under the staircase is where Ketu's energies are the most. And also the puja room, or the place where you offer your worship at home. So that is very Ketu. And then second thing, when I was researching about Ketu, is I found that Ketu is associated with the nerves, Some people say, even Saturn may be, or Mercury may be connected to nerves, but Ketu is connected with nerves and nails, okay, beard, the hair, okay, and private parts of the human body. So whenever you find that some Ketu rule nakshatras are, or Ketu rule nakshatras are very prominent, and if they're showing adverse effects, then you obviously have to look for these things. You specifically look at your nails, and then nails can give you a lot of understanding of how your chart is developing. Look at your hair. If you find a lot of hair graying, if you have that, or hair balding issues or whatever, then there would be some Ketu element playing very prominently in your life. And thirdly, what I've seen is the direction of Ketu is said to be northeast. And northeast is the direction typically in Vastu Shastra, you say you have to keep it vacant. You have to keep it open.
Right.
Okay. And many of them say that is also the place of the guru, where you keep your guru, or you keep your, your puja room more in the northeast. And other parts of the northeast should be vacant.
It's the Ishana corner.
Ishana corner, absolutely. Ishana corner is connected to Ketu.
Right.
So that's why they say keep that place open, so that you can have, and the the southwest is Rahu. So southeast, northeast is Ketu, southwest is Rahu.
Right.
So keeping that would also mean bringing in positive vibrations in the house. That is the area through which your ancestors also believe to be coming into the blessings of the ancestors. So you don't want to block that area. So you can connect it with healing energies which are coming through Ashwini Nakshatra, the psychic abilities which are coming through Ashwini Nakshatra, again Ketu. And then you're talking about your ancestors because it's Magha. And then the healing and the herbs and the garden that you have, or whatever spices, all of that coming through the northeast. That would actually redefine how you understand Ketu rule nakshatras. So with that, I think I would like you to commence today's lesson on Magha Nakshatra, Santhip.
Right. Great points, Dr. Pai. I think probably way one would practically use the northeast corner is to plant herbal plants or something like that. And
exactly.
In the northeast corner. So it will be the Ketu energies coming, the Mula activated, all the healing energies coming. Probably I've seen many Vastu specialists actually recommend to keep puja rooms in northeast corner.
Correct.
They said that best location to keep for a puja room, northeast or southwest corner. That was very. And one thing about southwest corner is that they said that the southwest corner should be higher in elevation compared to other plots. So it's blocking the Rahu.
Yes.
So that's one way to look at it, and it's considered to be very holy also. Like I forgot the name, the Kannimula as it's called.
Yes.
But the southwest corner is very interesting. So yeah, very interesting. Dr. You mentioned about hair, you mentioned about nails. You also mentioned about ancestors with Ketu. So that's the first thing. It's a nice way to segue into the presentation. So I'll begin to share my screen. And why I said so is because the Magha Nakshatra is all about your ancestors. It's your ancestral right. It's your ancestral birthright. It's your gifts from your ancestors. It's the curses from your ancestors. Literally, anything you can connect with your ancestors. And Magha Nakshatra is very, very important. Very, very important placement, because this is the first of the tamasic zone of the zodiac. But before we get into all of that, I'll just describe these pictures and why I have these pictures in my title screen. I called the Magha Nakshatra as the subtitle is the calling. So literally, that thing right now, Rahu in Magha is the time when literally the call of the ancestors need to be heard or listened to. It's a great time for all the natives all around the world, no matter who you are, where you are, to call ancestors. So that's going to be a first the first part focus of this presentation. That will be how we can connect with the ancestors, things of that nature. And that's why I have a picture of a lion here, because at some point along ancestral line, we are our descendants from natives who are like lions, literally. Also, literally lions were kings. We are literally descendants of kings. In one or the other, we are literally the descendant of. And lion is the king of all the animals. A lion is the animal that has enormous explosive potential, explosive energy when it attacks. So a lion may be, lazing around, chilling, chilling along with the breeze and stuff like that. But when you attack, it will just pounce on you, and the attack will be so explosive, which is really characteristics of Magha natives. And these natives may have this huge, sudden explosive potential, this royal explosive potential within them. So it's like have this potential, and how they express is up to them, depending upon their awareness and things like that. But then the reason why I connect your ancestral line with the lion is because if you think about it, we are all stardust. We are all stardust that has coiled up together to express itself as a human life form. So and sun is the star within our solar system. So sun is definitely for life in our own world and in our own lives. And sun is also the Nakshatra Rashi Lord. So it is very, very important that these natives we understand the royal nature of the Magha Nakshatra. Very, very important. That's why I have a crown of a king here. And actually the true power, a king has its power. That's why we call him a king. The true power is that of the spirit. That is, at the end of the day, that's the power we have. No matter what your circumstances, if you have the spirit or the strength of the soul within you, then literally you will be a royal like nature. You will be royalty. So that's the easiest way to ensure your royalty, in fact, to connect with your own spirit, to connect with your own soul. Easiest way. It's as if the Magha Nakshatra is the calling to connect with our own deeper spiritual, deeper soul nature, deeper side of things. And our ancestors are the easiest pathway to do that. Here I have a picture of an Egyptian god or king holding a scepter. One thing I wanted to mention here is that many times, just as a side note, royalty passes its scepter along the lineage. So the next lineage gets the scepter and the crown, and because of this entire this objects passing through lineage, you have this entire ancestral energy embedded within these objects. Many times I've seen that in great families, they have some kind of objects which are handed down to the descendants. So this could be your grandmother's wedding ring. This could be your grandmother's ornaments. This could be the mirror used by your grandmother. It could be, your grandfather's stool, a chair, the antique chair in your home, things like that, which still carry the ancestral energy. So in one way or the other, there is a lot of magic within these objects as well, these ancestral old as well. And it is something everyone should recognize and honor, because when you begin to honor your ancestor, then we are actually honoring our own soul at the end. So it's an important thing for these natives and for all especially to connect with energy, and more importantly to connect with our ancestors. And finally, you have the tree. A tree. This is the banyan tree, and it has its roots. The specialty of banyan tree has roots coming up from the top of the tree down into the ground. But the interesting thing about banyan tree is that you have a lot of roots which looks like snakes. So Ketu is the planet that is the graha that is connected to snakes. So you can see the snake-like connection even within the tree with Magha. So that's the first thing. So it's very, all the symbols are actually pointing to the strong soul energy within the Magha natives, and it's also pointing to the strong royal energy. And the biggest thing is how all this royalty is actually inherited through our genes or through our own spiritual genes from our ancestors, So these are, this is to head into the next slide. Because next slide is all about, let's see, yeah. Next slide is all about what I'm just calling this the Bhavat Bhavam extreme about this over here. But it's like sort of looking at the bhavas of, let's see. Okay, yeah, sort of looking at the bhavas were, right, okay. Just let's see. Yeah, okay. So what I have here is that I'm doing analysis of bhavas where the D9 padas would fall into. And you can see that, yeah, somehow, excuse the interruption, but okay, I think I'm getting this. It's like whenever I'm clicking, the Zoom thing is coming up. But let me just explain what I have on the slide here. So the Magha Nakshatra is the first nakshatra that is ruled by first nakshatra of sun that is falling. But then if you look at padas that would fall in the Navamsha, all the padas are falling from the 9 houses when you make Leo as ascendant. So this is 9 to 12 houses are the houses that are connected with the Sattvic suns or nakshatra. And on top of that, it's also connected with the universal karmas, the karmas you have with the world. So these natives definitely have some kind of universal karma to be expressed within them. That's one thing. So it's a very interesting thing to think about, especially Magha is falling in the natural zodiac, which is related with children, and it's also connected to the ancestors because the deity is ancestors. And then you have, it's like these natives or planetary placements here would mean that there is some kind of universal karma, but it's falling in the first 4 houses, which is again connected with the self. So it's as if there is this interchange between self and universal karmas, these natives would experience. So we can go into this this particular chart but then.
But Santhip, can you actually say, this is a very interesting observation that you have. You say,
Right.
all of them fall in the Sattvic zone with respect to Leo. Okay.
Right.
So when you go to, say, another nakshatra like Ashwini,
Right.
Ashwini, all of them fall in the D9, they fall in the Rajasic part.
Right.
With respect to Aries.
Right.
And when you go to, Mula, then they fall in the Tamasic part.
Right.
So that might be a great way to learn about these nakshatras, although they have the same D9 Navamsha padas, but still I feel there is subtle differences of how they are going to manifest on the basis of what Ketu Nakshatra it is. So if it is Mula, then you're looking at the Navamsha from a Tamasic perspective. If it is Ashwini, you're seeing from a Rajasic perspective. And then if you're going to, Magha, you're looking from a Sattvic perspective.
Definitely. I think I 100% agree with that, because Ashwini is the most Rajasic nakshatras of them all. And then you have Revati, which is, again, falling in the most Sattvic nakshatra of them all. And then you have Chitra. Probably when we discuss Chitra, we'll have to look at that. But then interesting thing is that, definitely that is a different perspective. It's showing how these natives, the nature of karmas, these will have to deal with. So Tamas more challenging. For a Mula native, it will be more heavy challenging, which the Mula native can grow spiritually enormously. And similarly with Revati, they have the most Sattvic, so they can bring more people into Sattvic, levels enormously. So definitely, and with Magha, interesting thing is that it's falling in Sattvic zone, and it's also in the Rajasic zone. So it's like the Rajas energy should finally express itself through the Sattvic zone. That's the highest.
No, it is Tamasic zone, right?
Oh yeah, Tamasic zone, right?
Sorry.
Exactly. You're right. The Tamas energy would express highest itself through the
Sattvic. Correct.
Through Sattvic. So it's like the same potential is there with Mula and Magha, But just that the Ketu, Mula is falling by default in the Sattvic zone, and then it's
the highest level is tamasic. How
right.
they get into the
Right.
nakshatra.
All right. So it's like definitely, and Sattva Tamas is a huge concept by itself. So it has its own interpretations, So it's definitely a great way to look at that. Yeah, great. That was great, Dr. Pai. Now, the side is just that it's just a blank screen. Yes, this is a deliberate blank screen. I always make a point to include a blank screen in my presentation because it's very, very important that we take time to connect with the blankness of our mind, with us within our mind, because that is the source for everything. It is just exactly like the night sky, which is the soul of all the nakshatras. I can't emphasize this enough. So all the nakshatras are visible only in the night sky. So you need to literally empty the blank state of mind whenever you're studying nakshatras. The more blanker you are, the more aware you are, the more the nakshatras will begin to talk to you. So now I'll just reintroduce my framework, which I have been discussing in all my presentation. Now the framework is expanding. The more teams and more, there are more things to look at. So it's very interesting. However, the main framework is that of nakshatra energy expressing itself through the deity, mythological stories, the symbols, and we have the themes and patterns that can come, festivals and rituals that can come through deity and mythology, themes, patterns through deity, symbols, space-time events through mythology and symbols. And all of this is combined through the circle of nakshatra awareness and astrological principles. So it's just a framework way of looking at things. Just a basic framework. So now I'll go into each of these elements with more depth. So the first element is that of deity. The deity of Magha Nakshatra are the Pitris, or the ancestors. On the right side of the on the right side of the screen, I have the ancestor. So ancestor is someone who's dead. So you have a skeleton representing the symbolic of the of the human who was dead before you. And these ancestors are literally the guardians in our lives. So these are the grandmothers, grandfathers, the great grandmothers, great grands, even the initial ancestor who was the source of all life for the entire future. And this is the great, these collection of souls together are called as the Pitris. So it needn't be just your grandfather or a grandmother or your parents if they are dead, but it's as if the parents or the great the window to the entire of ancestral energy through which into being. So the Pitris are the great group of souls who have been responsible for the growth and evolution of everybody, literally, because we owe ourselves a great deal to our heritage, to the ancestors. Even if you hate your ancestors, literally they gave birth to you. So literally you have to thank them for the gift of life that they have given to you. And so that's what I have here. Why I'm calling them as the guardian angels in our lives, because it's said that your ancestors will know your karma more than you would. So these are the forces that you can easily to for your own spiritual growth very immediately. And one way to reach the spiritual, one way to spiritually reach to these ancestors is by feeding crows, because there is this connection of crows to ancestors. And many times I've seen that when someone has mentioned that someone has died in the family, there'll be 1 or 2 crows hanging around the neighborhood. So it's symbolic of when you feed a crow, it's as if your ancestors are reaching from the other side, trying to connect with you. So the more you feed the crow, it's as if one way energetically you are helping out the ancestors. So even offering water to the crow, even offering food to the crow, things like that, it would really, really help you out in calming out your ancestral karma, or even your past life karma, or even, and many times these ancestral karma is a karma from our, needn't be our past life, but can be just our present lives past. So these Magha natives would have a lot of their past coming forward. They would be very aware of their past, and it's something they have to come to terms with. needn't be the entire ancestral karma. That's a bigger thing. But even in your present life, you have to deal with your past and to come to terms with the past. That is one thing these natives will go through, and this is one way ancestral energies manifest. How to pay a lot more attention to the idea of ancestors, because this is a force which many people have simply failed to recognize within their own spiritual growth. And wanting to connect with the ancestors, the spiritual growth they have is amazing. Like, it's as if you have grown yourself 10 times. Literally, that's what happens when you begin to do with the when you begin to honor your ancestors. So
Santhip,
this is the
Santhip, one more thing what I wanted to point out is there are two types of pitris. Okay, there is Manushya Pitris, who are the deceased, our ancestors, spiritual fathers. And there are also called as Deva Pitris. Okay, they are the ancestors of our race, which means they are the four founders of our entire race. Okay, they might not have a blood lineage with us, but they always think for the welfare of the race of the human race here. So they help us, whether if you reach out to them, both the Deva Pitris and Manushya Pitris. Manushya Pitris could be your immediate your genealogical forefathers, but then there is these Pitris who are who are connected to your lineage of your spiritual masters, which could be a Saptarishis, starting from the Saptarishis. So Saptarishis, and that's why you have the concept of Gotra. Gotra means, which family do you belong to, which spiritual lineage you belong to, and then you have what is your biological lineage, and one is your genetic lineage, and another one is your spiritual lineage. So whenever you talk about Magha, you have to talk about both of these are important in your life. Your spiritual masters or your Saptarishis and their lineage, and at the same time, your genetical or your biological lineage. Both have an influence on how you progress in your life. Can you hear me?
You have become very slow.
No, I think, is it better now? Is it better now?
Dr. Pai,
sorry, I think there was some problem with my internet. It shouldn't.
But Dr. Pai, it's a good sign in my opinion, because it's like anytime there is an interruption, it's like Ketu or ancestors are calling, So what I think, so it's like, could you repeat the point about the Deva Pitris and Manushya Pitris? I missed. Just you acknowledge the biological lineage as the forefathers, and then what about the
the Deva Pitris are you can go and read about them on Google as well. There are different forms of Deva Pitris, and their only intention is to ensure that this race of humanity here spiritually evolves, and the souls here evolve. Every time they take a birth, they want to ensure that the soul is evolving. Okay,
right.
So the Deva Pitris they also are your spiritual masters. Okay, they belong to your spiritual lineage.
Very interesting.
And that's why you can find that Magha Nakshatra can be very strongly associated with the Saptarishis.
Right, very interesting.
Okay, so from a biological perspective or genetical perspective, you can connect them to your your lineage, and that's why the Gotra, that's the tree, that's the banyan. The banyan with many branches coming out of it and going deep inside, into the soil. So that is showing you're connected, how connected you are to the ancestors. It's not only the ancestors who have the deceased souls from your family lineage, but then you also have to consider the spiritual lineage, where the soul is
very interesting. Is there a way we could find find if you do not know the Gotra, like for foreigners or things like that?
Yes, I have actually done, if you can go to the video that I did on KRS channel a couple of weeks
Oh,
ago
right,
on the
right.
D12,
Very interesting. Right, right,
Dwadashamsha. From the
right. The
Dwadashamsha,
D12.
from the Dwadashamsha, you can actually find out, who is your spiritual master, or which
Saptarishi.
Saptarishi. So you have to look
Right,
at the 12th house,
right,
Lord in the D12. That's the easiest technique that you can, if you do not know
right,
what your genetical lineage is, then you definitely know who your spiritual lineage is.
right. So it's very interesting. So it's as if that if the natives were to study about this particular Saptarishi, they would find the qualities of the Saptarishi is more prominent in them. That will
Exactly.
be like the spiritual qualities, the higher expression of these spiritual qualities which they would need to embody themselves.
Correct.
So very,
And
and
and from that you can also see, if you've seen the same video on the Dwada Shamsha.
right,
You can also
yeah,
see where I've said in Dwada Shamsha, it's also called as Suramsha.
right, right.
Suramsha is
Interesting,
connecting you to the soul, your soul's purpose,
interesting.
your soul journey, Dwada Shamsha. And that's why whenever you connect, you would actually also know, where in each of these rishis were born, because all these were called the Manas Putras of Brahma. They were born from the
Right,
mind of Brahma, and each
right,
of them were born from different body parts. Some of them are
right,
also connected to the prana.
right, right,
Okay, so that is very important to study what type of prana and what type of that rishi is, and then you
right.
will know what would be the things that you need to focus on in this life when you have some prominent planets connected with um, Magha Nakshatra.
Right. That's very interesting, Dr. Pai, because I think a couple of slides back we'll talk about karma and reincarnation, and then I'll bring back the point about what you said again. But it's very interesting that you bring that. I'll just say that right now because it will be yeah, because the connecting with the Devapitris is something we tend to forget.
We
But
tend to
even
exactly we tend to
yeah,
forget.
we tend to forget and more. But but in this day and age, people are even connecting to their own Pitris themselves.
Exactly,
So at least we need to start somewhere. So you
exactly.
start with connecting with your Pitris, offering offerings to your Pitris, and then you connect with the Deva Pitris to other amplified further.
Very true.
So that'll be great. That's good. So I'll in this slide I to show why connection with the Pitris is important. Why it's important. As per the Yajurveda, when a man is born, whoever he may be, there is born simultaneously a debt to the gods, the sages, to the ancestors, and to men. So when he performs sacrifice, the debt is concerned, that's been cleared up. When he performs sacrifices to the gods, when you recite the Vedas, sages is cleared up. So when you learn wisdom from the sages and things like that, from the Vedas, things like that, then this is the most important point. When he desires offspring, it is the debt to the ancestors which is concerned. It is on their behalf. Therefore, that he is taking action so that their offspring may continue without interruption. This is the biggest point. So essentially, what this means is that when you want children, that's when your ancestors become more, because your children are really your ancestors being born back to you. So the fifth house of the zodiac is ninth house from the natural ninth house. So it's like your father would be your son. Your father would have your son's characteristics the most. Because fifth house from fifth house is ninth house from ninth house is fifth house. So your father would have the son's characteristic the most, or your parents would have the your children's characteristic the most. That's why you see grandparents loving their grandchildren more. Because they can see that connection themselves more in their grandchildren more than their own children. So it's like the genetic connection is skipping through their children, and because of which that connection is very, very strong. And that's one of the reasons why when he desires offspring, it is a debt to the ancestor is concerned. And fifth house is also connected with your past life karma. So naturally, ancestral karma that is coming into place. So it's very, very important that everyone understands this. This image is very interesting because I just want to point out one fact. There is this intricate connection between Sun and Shiva, which is said. So it is as if that Sun is connected with Shiva. So if you have some problems with your Sun, then appeasing Shiva is one of the best ways to do it. And Shiva is also supposed to be the first guru. So that is one way where you can see the connection of the ancestors as well. So that is one thing. And then and final point is in this is that when he entertains, this is up to the man which is concerned. So when you're hosting dinner parties, when you're inviting people to your home, that's when you're entertaining guests and giving them food and drink. That's when you are owing your karma to the society, to the man actually. So of which whenever your children is concerned, your ancestral karmas become very, very important. So one way to look at this is also that when you begin to honor your ancestors, the lineage will begin to prosper. Your children will begin to prosper. So if you don't care about yourself, but if you care more about the children, then you should be honoring your ancestors. It's simple. That's what the Vedas literally say. That's why I wanted to bring this out. Why and how important connection to these ancestors are. And here I'm showing you, as I mentioned before, grandparents and grandchildren are shown in Ketu. And Magha is a nakshatra ruled by Ketu. But here I have on the left side, you see a baby growing up to be a child, becoming a man, finally becoming an old man, and finally merging back into the cosmos, into the gods. So with as far as your ancestry is concerned, there is an unbroken line of souls that you are connected to. That is one thing that is always there. That's always there. Whether you're surprised when you begin to learn about your grandparents, how much their qualities will be very similar to yours. It's going to be there for sure. Like your paternal grandparents, your grandparents, you'll begin to see how different qualities are expressing itself in within you. And Rahu and Ketu is clearly the connection between grandparents for sure. And similarly, since grandparents are connected with grandchildren, you will also begin to see Rahu and Ketu being involved in a as well. So it is as if when you begin to deal with your grandchildren, that's when you begin to teach them culture, and you pass down the heritage, you pass down the ancient wisdom, you pass down your entire knowledge of your life and your experience of your life onto your children and to your grandchildren. But more to your grandchildren because it's easier to modulate your grandchild, especially when they are young, to imbibe within them qualities that will help the prosperity of your lineage. And you have also taught us that it was also connected with the genetic lineage and genetic genes. So genetic issues can also be seen with Rahu and Ketu. So natives will have some kind of ancestral karma, potentially can have some kind of genetic issues. That's one thing I've seen, or some kind of inherited karma. And one prominent thing which with Professor A.V. Sundaram says is that if you have Rahu Ketu in the ascendant, there's some kind of ancestral karma trying to sort out. So no matter what, so it's like ancestral karma you have agreed to take on or to deal with before you took birth. So that's one way why I'm showing you this birth. But it's as if you made the gods a witness and you decided, okay, this is the karma which you'll go through. And it's literally we are all here because of all the lives before us, culminating to this present point, culminating to this present life. So all these influences, and we are part of evolution, even towards God itself. So this is how we look at even the souls as well. The younger souls will be more interested in the world. The more mature soul, and with more maturity to increase your connection with the gods, the spirituality, you become more spiritual. You see the divine in everything, things like that. So that's one thing I wanted to share here. Okay, and clearly we have a lot of ancestral interruptions going on. So everything is good, That's one thing I wanted to mention here. So Now, this is something which I wanted to really focus on. Why Dr. Pai and I discussed about probably make two-part interview, because astrology is really the study of karma. So what is karma? So it's a time we have to come back to the fundamentals to understand our ancestors. So basically, in karma, you could say that in astrology would say that you are all the sum of your past lives. So you can see the maturity of, like, you were a wife at your previous life, then you probably were a husband, then you were a warrior, you were a tradesman, then you were a courtesan, you became a devotee, and finally you became a sage. So it is sort of a destiny of all souls to get enlightened. That is something that is assured. So no matter what your situation may be, no matter what your circumstances are, it is the destiny of all human beings to be connected with the divine. This is what this picture is all about. And the destiny begins to unfold when you begin to deal with your karma, or when you begin to modify your actions, when you begin to modify your thoughts. Now, what is karma? The simplest thing of karma is that your actions. That will be the straight up thing. Whatever you do, that is your karma. That will be the simplest answer. But then what kind of things do you actually do? You think, that is also an action. You speak, that is also an action. You do actions, that is also another action. Then, so it's as if these your thoughts, your speech, your actions, they have their own energies that are getting expressed itself. You have a thought energy. When you're thinking, you have energy amplified. You're investing and in the thoughts, and the thought energy is growing. And that thought energy is growing to a point where it becomes speech. And the speech energy will also impact more. So the impact is more with your speech. Sometimes, that's something we need to be aware of. And you have the action. Finally, the manifestation of the karma of the thought is through your speech, and then finally action. So the important thing here is that everything is energy. That's the important thing. The soul has its ability to generate energy. That's why you are able to think. You have the ability to generate the thought energy. You have the ability to generate speech energy. And you have the ability to generate your action energy. So the actions that are manifested in the world will create an impact. So you can divert actions into creating a beautiful sculpture, and that sculpture is there forever in the world. So actions definitely have some kind of impact in the world. Similarly, your speech can inspire someone else to create a sculpture. So that is it's creating impact. Now the speech happened because you're thinking about that. So the thoughts definitely have its own impact. So essentially, the entire karma is literally all your thoughts, words, and your actions being cleared up. And that's what the entire study of astrology is. And ultimately, it's about you progress yourself so that you are aware of the thoughts you have, so that you are aware of the speech you have, so that you are aware of the actions you perform. And when you begin to do this, what you begin to see is that the astrologer has found out that there are certain principles that evoke certain patterns and themes in all these aspects. So that's what the entire science of astrology is all about. And again, you have this, but the fundamental concept of this karma is that the energy which you generate, the thought energy, the speech energy you generate, the act which you generate, doesn't get destroyed. It will be, it needs to be transferred. So the energy you generate will be there until you deal with that, until you bring it to balance, until you bring it to settling down. So without dealing with that energy, without fulfilling your destiny, there is really no escape. You have to fulfill the destiny you are born with. You have to fulfill or make use of your free will awareness to expand upon your destiny, so that you can balance out the different levels of karma. And your thought, speech karma, and action karma can be related in three different aspects. Can be related with yourself, with others, and with the universe. That's the easiest way, and that's the entire science of astrology. That's it. That's the entire science of astrology. And these energies which you created in your past lives is actually coming forward to be dealt with in this life. That's what you're seeing here. You may have angry karma within and within being a warrior in your past life. But then you'll be surprised to find out that is very angry, So it's like he has inherited this anger karma, his past life, and he's very angry to his servants or whatever. and then finally the courtesan becomes angry. So these kind of issues, so thought, when you think about your thought energy, there is also the emotional energetic aspect. So it's as if the thought, it's not only about the action of your thoughts, but your emotions also has its own energy. So we tend to, in this day and life, we tend to only to the physical body or most else, but we don't even pay attention to our own thoughts. We don't even pay attention to our own things. We don't spend time in taking time for ourselves to simply clean out our emotions. So all this energy is there. It is waiting to be. So until we take time to deal with those emotions, it's all going to be there. So it's going to be there. It will express yourself, and it's like it's almost as if this energy will have its own gravitational fields. These energies will have its own gravitational fields, and there will be thought lines along those fields. So say you have hate towards someone. Say you hate Donald Trump, then all your thought lines will go through those Donald Trump hate lines. So it will become hate lines, and that's how your eyes would see. That's how your speech would come. That's how your would also come. I'm just bringing out an example. I'm not saying this is how you should be. I'm not saying good or bad. But the important thing to understand is that it's not really about the good or bad. It's all about the energies. That's the most fundamental important thing. And you can modify your energy with your awareness. The more you begin to heart, you become more aware. So that's what the sage here in the middle of the picture is very open. He's very peaceful, because why? He has opened his heart to the entire universe. He literally sees the entire life for the plants. He literally sees the entire life force in the animals, in every other fellow beings. He's enlightened. So this is literally our birthright. This is why we are born. This is the final point of final point of exit. No one wants to live in the earth plane time. We are all trying to escape from the earth plane. So between the point of death and our point of birth, to release a lot of karmas and try to improve our future generations. So that is why it's very, very important how honoring the ancestors is also tied up with your enlightenment at the end of the day. And here is again another picture of how sometimes the same soul will take birth, and finally we all merge back into the universe. That's what is happening. And yeah, Dr. Pai, here is why I was at why the D12, the chart was very important early on, because the 12th house is really connected with moksha. That's why we are born. One way, I tell this to some of my close friends when they ask me, why are we born? I tell them we are born so that we can die at some point. Literally, so 12th house is finally the objective of our birth. So the 12th house of the D12, so D12 is 12th house expanded. And the 12th house of the D12 will clearly show you the final objective that needs to be fulfilled so that you can literally get enlightened. So that is one way I'm looking at it. And that's why I think it's important that we not only connect with our forefathers, which could be us in our past lives, and simply coming back. And why it's also important to connect with our children and to pass on the knowledge to our children as well. So that's one thing. And a movie which shows this ancestral karma, past life karma, clearly playing out is Cloud Atlas, in which Tom Hanks literally lives multiple. He's living a futuristic space co-op life, a co-op in the future life in a futuristic time span. He's also living a reporter who's trying to help out nuclear physicists, who's trying to expose something, who's Halle Berry here. He's also living a caveman kind of karma. So it's like you can literally see how the same emotional energy he was experiencing with the caveman as a caveman was being expressed itself through different circumstances, through different space and time. So literally see that. So I think one thing I wanted to add, Dr. Pai. I'm just curious, what else do you have to add to this point? Because I feel that sometimes as astrologers and even as students of astrology, we tend to forget the fundamentals of karma, which is what the study of astrology should be ideally.
No, these are, I think whatever you've mentioned, Santhip, these were very profound and very great insights, because these are the vasanas, these are the thought and the emotions that you carry. And what you have beautifully put in this presentation, you have said, no soul has a gender attached to it, no soul has a caste attached to it, there is no stigma attached to the soul. The soul is always pure. right? It's only this physical body which gives you a male or a female. So discrimination of any soul in any manner is something that you shouldn't be doing, because every soul is pure. Every soul, no matter what their actions are an influence of your past actions. And that's why we call it the sanchita karma. Sanchit means the whatever is heaped together. Sanchit means heaped together, right? So those are all your actions, good, bad, ugly, whatever, from all your past lives, which follows you into your next life. But you're not enjoying the sanchit in this lifetime. Only a part of that would be activated. Whatever is ripe for you now to enjoy or to suffer comes up. Okay, so it could not mean that you're going and addressing just one lifetime's karmas. It might be multiple lifetimes, and one part of the karma you are trying to address here, and that's why we call it the prarabdha. So a prarabdha is like an arrow which has already left the bow, right? Which cannot return, and it must go and hit the target. That represents your prarabdha.
And that is your birth chart.
That's your birth chart. That's your prarabdha. That's your birth chart. Right? And especially in the prarabdha, if you go and see, first house is your birth. Seventh from any house is what completes it, or what finishes it. Okay. So if you see, first house is your birth, seventh house is what completes it. Some of them also called as, it's a Marakastan. The second house and seventh house is called as Maraka houses. So seventh house completes it. So if seventh house completes it, which is the house which shows you the prarabdha of this lifetime going into? It goes to the sixth house from seventh house, which is the 12th house.
Interesting,
right? So every life you take, you can see that the next lifetime's prarabdha can be also seen from the 12th house, or the previous lifetimes also, because it's like it's overlapping. Do you understand? So, sixth from seventh.
Yeah, 6 from 7. So 6, 8, 12 is the prarabdha you are born with. So it's when you make, which is the completion of your lifetime, then you make 6, 8, 12 from 7th house, then the 6th house falls definitely in the 12th house. So that means then 12th house is literally how you are completing the prarabdha of your 7th house, and it's all lifetimes of karma.
See, if you take the 7th house, the second house from the 7th house is your 8th house of this life.
Exactly.
Okay, 12th house from 7th house is your 6th house. And 6th house from your 7th house is your 12th house.
Very interesting. Makes perfect sense.
So do you see how the karmas are connected and interlinked?
It's very beautiful, because 7th house is your ascendant would fulfill itself. And then for that to have 6, 8, 12 houses need to be done, because that's the fundamental pattern that needs to be implemented. Very interesting, Dr. Pai. Yeah, that needs to be looked into. I had to look into it more, because it's very interesting how it's almost like the yin yang is playing out there. And, first house is the yin and other house is the yang, however you want to look at it. And then you have 6, 8, 12 houses, 6, 8, 12 from both 7th house and first house. So it's very interesting, because when you're thinking about death, you would also think about your second house of your speech, if your 7th house, your partners or everything else, so it's very interesting.
Similarly, you can look at the 10th house as your karmas, your external world. 4th house is, you can say, it's your home. Okay, your house where you live in physically. 10th house from there is, you see that it is your external world. So whenever you finish all your karmas related to the 10th house, okay, you come to the 4th house again. That is where you rest forever. That is called as a
Right.
graveyard.
Right.
Fourth house is also called as the womb of your mother, because that's where you
Right.
feel the most comfortable.
Right.
And fourth house is also your ultimate resting place.
Right. Definitely.
Because when you
Definitely.
completed everything with the 10th house, your completion will happen in the fourth house. You move to the fourth house.
Right.
So from that perspective, you use the same thing, principle I gave you.
Right.
Okay. See from the second house from the 10th house, which is the 11th house
Right.
of your social network, your
Right.
earnings, everything. 12th from
Right.
there is your 9th house, which is your
Right.
dharma, your father.
Right.
And then see the 6th from there. 6th from
Right.
10th is your third house.
Right.
So all
Right.
these things, when you complete, that is when you're ready to leave this.
Very interesting. Definitely, that makes a lot of sense. So it's as if that if you understand what planets, what signs are occupying these signs, that's your karma.
That's
That's
your
when you
karma.
can. That's when you can finally sit at home,
Exactly.
or literally. That's very interesting, because and same way even for yourself, the 6, 8, 12 houses would showing clearly
Clearly,
uh,
for this
what
physical
your
body.
right for this physical body, what your karma needs to be. And then if you make 7th house, which is like your moksha in one way or the other, then the 8th house, 6, 8, 12, from those would be the second house, 12th house, and again 6th house, so it's again completion of some sorts. So it's very fascinating, Dr. Pai, because it's as if we become more aware of these houses and what we need to do. Then it's as if like even if you do begin to do that, then suddenly lot more things begin to accelerate or things begin to improve a lot, things like that. That's great, Dr. Pai. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So yeah, this is karma and reincarnation. So we got some great points from Dr. Pai about what your nature of karma should be. So one thing I mentioned is that we get our blessings from our ancestors, and we also get our curses from your ancestors. So that's one thing. I just want to. I don't want to scare people away or something like that. But however, I just want to highlight aspect that if you have done some kind of bad actions in your past life, it will come back to you in this life. Doesn't mean that. So it's actually responsible for your life. So it's like you committed a crime. As per the universal law code of law, you have to experience the result because you created the energy comes back to you. That's what the karma is literally. So many times when you come to this simple fact that okay, you created this energy yourself and it's coming back to you, then lot of very peaceful for you. Okay, I am responsible for myself. But then you suddenly have the forbearance and strength to deal with those karmas. So that's why this is actually a metal band's album. The Ancestrals is the metal band and Curse is the name. But it's like ancestral curse. And the reason why I say this is because I've seen some of this play out. Recently, I had a fortune of attending a gold and a Swarna Prashna, and it was saying that the astrologers were pointing out that there was a snake curse in the family. Why they were pointing that out was because supposedly one sister had cut a tree in which supposedly a snake lived in. So once the tree was cut, the snake also died, and because of which the snake is supposed to have cursed the human who has cut its home. So Sun Ketu chart or Rahu can denote such kind of snake curses potentially. That's one thing I was seeing. But more importantly, it's also what this ancestor lineage, this particular lineage had experienced was that they experienced a particular white mark happening from his children's children onwards. So it was a white mark on their wrist, and that was symbolic of there was a curse of a snake. So the astrologer was asked, is there any way to remove this, or is there any way to remedy this? One suggestion was to offer a cow to a Brahmin, so that but then in this day and age it's hard to find a Brahmin who maintains cows and things like that. Finally, there was some other snake ritual performed, and then along with the suggestion that you have to plant trees in serpent caves, Sarpakav as it's called in Kerala. So there are certain caves where snakes are worshipped. So the remedy was to plant a tree. So your actions are consequences. When it impacts like snake, it will come back to you. Many times Magha natives will experience these kind of karma coming back to them more stronger than other, some sort of their past coming back to them. So that's one thing. This is one I came across. And what I was trying to say was that many times the family do not progress because of this ancestral energetic karma. So there is sometimes this can be deep conditional patterning, deep conditional patterns within your thinking mind. So you may have had an ancestor who was always negative because the father became negative. Now finally when the son or the child, when the daughter is trying to become more positive, it's like they have to fight against those whole tendencies of negativity, those generations of negativity. It can be implied with generational like enmity towards this family or that family. So it's actually binding the growth. So it's like these ancestral energies are binding the family's growth. That's one way, and that's literally what will happen in case of curses. And this is a real thing. So it be dealt with energetically. You need to increase your awareness so that these patterns don't affect you more. So it said that this is something. This is one of the reasons why many people do not fulfill their own full complete potential. They may be great at some things, so it's as if that their past life karma will stop them from accomplishing their complete potential. So they have to really work hard. They can break through these conditions. They can break through patterns which their family or their ancestral generations have established within themselves. So one way this can actually happen is especially if one ancestor is mistreated. So if someone was angry at some ancestors or some ancestor was literally thrown out of the home, it's like this energy of this unhappiness or this sadness would percolate through the entire lineage. That's something that has been observed, and that's traditionally been looked into in different practitioners, especially in Kerala or places where ancestors are still worshipped. So they say, and astrology would say that, okay, your great grandmother was thrown out of her home by her husband, because of which she experienced sad, and that sadness is the reason why you do not get children. So you need to appease that grandmother's energetic karma, and because because of the same blood lineage you share, these kind of karmas can easily percolate through yourself. So it's something you need to be aware of. So it's one way you need to begin to honor your ancestors. So the ancestors are actually living in the that's the theory. So one way to do honor your ancestors is literally through Shraddha and things like that, which I'll talk about a couple of slides down. But before that, the simplest way to honor your ancestors is to keep this quote in mind: we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors; we borrow it from our children. So it's like the best way to clean up your ancestral karma. Think about your children, is to have your children, to make sure that these patterns do not fall upon your children. Thinking patterns, these negative patterns, do not continue with your children. You make them more aware, more spiritually aware, and by the process of which your ancestral karma will also be. That's one simplest way for sure. But then if you're having, that's another reason why they say that problems with ancestors can create problems with your children. That's one thing. But however, it's not completely cut and dry. You can still work out. You can still improve yourself. That's the whole reason why there is anyways, so that you can work and improve yourself and change your karma, change your fate from worse to better. Now, one of the easiest way to appease your ancestors is to maybe have an entire ancestral altar. So I have here the pictures of different ancestral altars from around the world. This is a typical Buddhist altar. You have a flower, candle for fire, and you have an incense. Again, incense here. You have a bowl of water, some seeds. So you can see elements here. Even this is a Chinese altar. You have a fruit offered here. There's an incense stick. Flower is offered to the ancestors. And you also have a bowl of water and things like that. In a Japanese sense, they actually worship their ancestors carried. So samurai warrior cultures, warrior caste, they would worship the weapons their ancestors used to carry. So the entire samurai clad, the entire samurai armor with their sword will be worshipped as their representative ancestors. And because of this worship, this energy, the energy from the ancestors will be there. Those energies will be ensuring prosperity for the entire family. That's the way to look. And here I have a picture of an African altar, ancestral altar. So it's very interesting that they offer the elements in Buddhist, Chinese, or even in Indian. Like you have the water there, then you have the candle, which is fire. Water is the water element, candle is the fire element. You have the incense, which is the air element, I would think. Then you have the earth element through crystal. It can be a particular stone as well. But along with that, they offer their ancestors' vices. They offer rum, they offer the whiskey, brandy. They also offer perfumes, makeups. They also offer food. So one of the easiest way to actually charge or help up your ancestors is by offering of food. Indian culture, they don't offer meat, or you don't offer meat as a food, but you're offering food when you're doing tarpan through rice form, which we'll discuss next slide. But then some cultures do offer meat for the ancestors, because probably the energy of the ancestors connect with them. And they also have ancestral book of names, and there is also a plant or a family tree that is one. One deep secret, Dr. Pai, is that something I come across the internet, is that it's said that some ancestors will literally protect certain trees. The one thing that is said is that if you want to ensure that you yourself will get money for the rest of your entire lives, I'm talking rest of your entire future lives, is to collect a bag of coins, like a half a kilo coins, can be silver coins, or simply our 1 rupee coin, 10 rupee coins, can be those, and put that in the ground and plant a big tree. Plant a tree that becomes huge, like a banyan tree, or like any other tree, a tree that becomes huge on top of that, and water that plant. So because as long as the tree is alive, it's as if as the tree is growing up, the wealth energy is connected with the roots of the plants. And then the entire tree will enter, as long as the tree is alive, instead of assuring that you are the person who buried it, it's kind of assuring that the wealth will sustain for the rest of your entire future lives. That's one remedy I've heard a spiritual master say it. I don't know how it works or not, but it's something definitely possible. That's what I would say. Because considering the connection with banyan and roots and things like that, that's something we all could try, So all the viewers of your video are fortunate to even try something. You could see that. That's one thing.
I think that's a very great point, Santhip, what you mentioned. I think definitely you could see that connection. And definitely, right. I think there could be very powerful connection with certain trees.
Right.
And a very good point you mentioned is about the 5 elements, the tattvas.
Right.
And how they're offering all the 5 tattvas, or the 5 Panchamahabhutas, they're offering to the ancestors.
Right. Because the ancestors are on the other side of the astral plane. So correct. It's as if that when you begin to honor your ancestors, what you're actually doing is that you're offering the elements to the ancestors. So that's why I didn't mention it clearly. You're offering the fire element here, the earth element, the water, the air element, the incense, and finally there is no ether, but you can definitely offer other kind of things as well. When you're offering to your ancestors, and some people actually do this daily, like literally they do daily, they have their ancestral altar. You do not worship your ancestors, you honor your ancestors. So you offer them daily, and then you have your god altar for the gods, So you have your ancestral altar and then altar for the gods. And by doing these offerings daily, you are actually improving your wealth, or ensuring that the ancestors from the other side, from the astral side, will help you continuously. So this is one thing I've seen, and this is like first steps they actually recommend for your own spiritual growth. And actually, one suggestion I have is that right now, since Rahu is in Magha, this is the prime time to do these kind of offerings to your ancestors. And you can do, as long as the elements are offered, I wouldn't say, but anything that comes through your heart, that's something you could clearly get the results from. That's what I think. And finally, this slide is, this small picture is that of showing how even the ancient Romans used to acknowledge their ancestors, or the mains, as they called it. Mains were the holy, the same concept of Pitris. The Roman Pitris were called as mains. and they used to write one of the first stones to a deeper gateway or a tunnel would have this particular written in it. It would have, which would stand for dis manibus or for the mains. That's what it would mean. So these mains is like an ancestral force that is there behind your actions. That's what the Romans would consider. The picture in the middle is in some African traditions and even in Brazilian or in South American traditions, you have the dance of the ancestors that happens. So that is something that has been found there, and along with the traditional weapons and stuff like that. Even in India, you find the dance of the ancestors through the processions and things like that. So that's one thing. Now this is the way the ancestor worship. So ancestors are an actual spiritual force that is out there, and almost all spiritual cultures around the world acknowledge these forces one way or the other. So that's the biggest thing I wanted to ensure out there. This is a real thing, So that's why this is a common theme happening in the world all over. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Pai. No, I can't hear you. You're on mute.
What I was thinking is the name means, and also
Right.
this manibus. It kind of reminds me of our ancestor called Manu.
Interesting, right? Definitely.
Manu, we are all from the lineage of Manu.
Right.
And you can see that Manu would be, the Rishi Manu is through what our race has come up. And he brought in the human race and all the other things that you see. So maybe that is what they mean. It's maybe in Latin, we have to check what it means. Manibus or mains. Again, somehow it's all connected to Manu, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's very possible, because the force, after the four sounds that are associated with Magha, Ma is one of the first sound in first pada. Then you have Ma, Mi, Mu, and Me. So Ma, Nu. That's one way of looking at Manu also. So I would definitely think that is very possible. Manu is connected with mains, definitely, for sure. That's a very great point, Dr. Pai. Yeah, Latin, the thing about Latin, it's supposed to be as magical as Sanskrit also. That's one of the reasons why church people still use it. They're still able to manipulate the spiritual energies through Latin. There are many spells in Latin, things like that. So you find chants in Sanskrit, So that's one thing. So this is the ancestral worship in the world. Now I'm going into the way the Indians, or in the Hindu tradition, how they honor their ancestors. So this is involved. The main ritual involved with the ancestors is called a ritual. And Tarpan ritual essentially is the way by which you honor your ancestors. And what I have here pictures is that I have 5 pictures of kusha grass, which is a grass which is a prominent element involved in the ritual of Tarpan. And then you have water pouring down your hands. That's one of the main rituals that is involved. In the main ritual, you have a kusha grass, which is supposed to connect with Ketu, and is also representing this element in Ayurveda. You make a ring, and it is worn in the ring finger. And in palmistry, the ring finger is connected with the sun. So again, you have the sun Ketu connection here, clearly here. When you wear a ring, you are bringing the sun Ketu connection, and that's why it's called the pavitram, or something holy, something blessed. So in a way, these Magha natives are also blessed. They are wearing rings from their ancestors, one way or the other. And then I have some images which shows that the Ketu of kusha grass is supposed to be from the top of Kurma avatar. They became darba grass. It's also called as darba thing. And the edge of the long leaf blade is very sharp. And darba mats, which is seen on the right, is supposed to be very best for meditation. It grows in marshy regions. And it's also seen that darba grass is considered very sacred by the Vedas, and people actually place cow's curd for by placing various types of grass, and that's how they found that there was radiations being affected in the cow's curd placed on the grass. So these radiations are very less. So it's as if it's acting like a disinfectant food items also. They're keeping the microbes away. So you can see the scattering energy away. So these ancestors kind of scatter the energies, the harmful energies that are coming your way. That's one way to actually activate your Ketu, by honoring your ancestors again. And here on the ritualistic side, the ritual of tarpan, you pour water, and that could be the connection with the yeah,
Santhip,
go ahead,
just
Dr.
1 second. I'm losing out on battery. I'll just quickly plug in.
Right.
Just give me one
Okay.
piece.
Right.
Go ahead, Santhip.
Yeah. So, Dr. Pai, I was saying that I was going to say how you offer traditionally in Tarp, you offer the water to different forces. One is the Dev Tirtha, which is offered through through your fingers. Then you have the Rishi Tirtha, which is offered to the right side of your palm, only along the right side. And then through your Pitru Tirtha, which is offered to your ancestors, but it is offered along the between these regions. So your water is poured on here, and then you offer it like this, so that it is coming down this region. So it's very interesting. So I think probably this could be signifying the connection with the divine forefather and the rishis. The same, how we are owing the depths and how we are the depths through this particular ritual. That's something that seems to make sense here. And kushagrass is very important, as I mentioned. And then the other element of this ritual is a sesame seed. So sesame seed is actually connected with Saturn. So you have problematic Saturn, then you need to be using sesame seed oil, black sesame seed oil, a lot in your life. Applying sesame seed oil on your natural and 10,000, 11,000, which would be your knees and ankles, is a great remedy for Saturn. Also, consuming sesame seed oil would be good. Donating sesame seed oil would be good. A lot of other things like that. And it's called as it's called serpent ritual because you are actually pouring water over the sesame seed oil, and you are pouring the water either on a plate, or you may actually make rice balls in which you are making rice with sesame, and then you're pouring water on top of the rice balls. So that is the actual ritual. What an actual ritual would look like. You can also offer incense and ghee and things like that also. Plus version of the ritual. And some people can, and by doing this, and when you wear this person wearing the pavitram on his ring finger also, and when you wear the pavitram on your ring finger, the ring made of kushagrass, and then you do the sesame seed, and then you offer your oil, water. By doing this, that's how you appease. You are offering directly to us. And one thing is that then once you make the offerings of the rice, you clap 3 times and you offer it to the crows. So when the crows comes and eat this offering, then you can be sure that your ancestors have been appeased. If you don't find any crows, then any black birds or crow-like birds, scavenging birds, that is also gives you the same results. So yeah, Dr. Pai, I was wondering if you have anything to add here.
Yes, it's a very interesting concept, Santhip, when you talk about Tarpanam. And what is beautiful is any fire altar that you see, when they build the fire altar, there is elaborate secret geometries that you see around the fire altar. And then before commencing the fire altar, you can see that the priest is usually going to fortify that area with the kusha or the darba grass. So the fire altar, he puts the kusha grass on all the 4 sides, and then he uses the kusha grass to connect the fire altar with a kalash or a pot where there is water, and then there is a coconut, and there is a mango leaves which are kept. So mango leaves, and then you put the coconut, and then he shows the connection. So basically what it means is this ketu, which is connected to kusha, is being used, or kusha grass is basically used to ward off all the negative energies, or even keeping away all the evil spirits. You're fortifying your altar so that no evil spirits can come and disturb this. Now, another beautiful concept of the Tharapanam is using all the 3 vital essences of Ayurveda.
Very interesting.
The 3 vital essences that you see is what you call in Ayurveda as prana, tejas, and ojas.
Right.
Now, what are these? These are subtle essence bridges that bridges the awareness to the cellular intelligence. Like Tejas is the innate intelligence that exists within each cell that we have in our body, and Prana is the force that moves this intelligence amongst the cell.
Right.
Okay, and Ojas is the medium through which this intelligence moves. So what you see here is during when you do the Tarpanam, basically you're bringing all these three vital essences together to connect with your forefathers. You are connecting your cellular intelligence with the greater awareness of your ancestors. And that is why what you do is, as you said, the Kusha grass, which is mixed, that is the Tejas element. Then you have the Ojas element, the Kusha grass, because it is the medium through which this intelligence is going to move for this ritual. And then you have the sesame seeds, which is your Tejas element, which is the innate intelligence that exists. And that's why Saturn is called as Karma Karaka, because it connects you to the karmas, or that awareness of those intelligence. The intelligence is cosmic intelligence I'm talking about, which is your Akashic records, which are holding all your data files or archive files for many lifetimes. That also includes the archive of all your ancestors' files, right? And the prana is the rice cake that you use is actually knitting the tejas and the ojas together and knitting it together. That's the rice cake, the cooked rice cake. So you see all of these being knit very well through prana. Prana is your rice cake.
Right. Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention is that this rice cake is actually placed on a kusha grass. That's the element. So that's why it's the medium of the medium through which you are doing.
Exactly. Ojas is the medium through which this intelligence will move, and that is what your rice cake and your sesame seeds are, your tejas and your prana. So basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to bring in the essence of your ancestors with these through, the tejas and the prana, you're installing that. And then you're bringing the kusha grass to make that medium move.
Right. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. So it's like when you, by law of karma, if you offer anything to the ancestors have no other option but to give back to us.
Exactly.
So that kind of established, and that cosmic intelligence, the more you offer them to them, then it should come back to you. So then it's going to come out, piece out the energies between your ancestors and yourself, and then how also helping out karmically also. Yeah, that's very. I didn't know the Ayurvedic principles, Dr. Pai.
So if you see all the three characteristics, the key characteristics of these, the vital essences, they are all associated with your grahas, your rashis, your three doshas, and your panchamahabhutas. That is the essence. And that's why you connect very strongly when you do the tarpanam, not only with your ancestors, but also with those energy forces, the cosmic energy forces which help you progress your soul here.
That's very interesting, because I was wondering where are the elements here? Where are the four elements here? You had the fire, water, earth, air elements in the world over ancestral practices. But so there's some ritual in these elements being offered. But it makes sense that when you're actually doing these Ayurvedic principle-oriented practices, you're actually infusing the elements again, and in a more subtle manner, in a more deeper manner. So that's very beautiful, Dr. Pai. Thank you for explaining that.
Because that is very, very important, Santhip, is because why we say we shouldn't bring negative emotions, negative thoughts, because these will create psychological or emotional imbalances, and that will increase your tejas in your body. And when a lot of tejas increases in your body, then it diminishes the innate cellular intelligence. So that's why you say, stay away from gossip, excessive talking, negative thought. All this increases the element of tejas in the body.
Right.
So one of the remedies which our ancestors have given us is chewing a small piece of ginger dipped in lemon juice. They say that when you keep it on your tongue in
Right.
lemon juice, ginger dipped in lemon juice, then it is going to remove that imbalance in the body of the tejas, excessive tejas.
Very interesting. So if you are gossiping a lot, and tejas would mean more activity, so more speech,
More speech.
more. So interesting. So if you want to calm down a bit, then do the ginger dipped in lemon juice and then put it under your tongue.
Exactly. So that excessive negative thoughts or emotions or that gossip element is going to be reduced.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I was something I want to add. Yeah. So yeah.
See, one more thing what you have to know is what to eat, which will increase or diminish, the tejas.
Right.
Some of they say some of the tejas building food articles are like pumpkin seeds, okay,
Right.
oysters, asparagus, okay, these
Right.
all increase. So what is the ojas building foods like ghee, rice, milk, honey, sugar, all of these almonds or raisins, these all increase the ojas in the body.
Right. And probably the prana. What about the prana?
No, prana is through your maintaining. See, what people do not understand is there is a very subtle difference between pranayama and swasayama. Many of us will just do the breathing exercise, which is equivalent to swasayama. Swasayama means just breathing.
Right.
But there is a very subtle difference. When you do it for a couple of weeks, then you will know when the prana is moving in your body. It is not the breath. We always think that the breath is prana.
Right.
Breath is not
It's
prana.
not the breath. It's the vital essence behind.
Vital essence behind that.
Right.
And essentially, you can see prana moving, and you can have prana move too. And that's what if you see the martial arts people, they use the chi to flow through the body.
Right. And that's the healthiest body also you will have when you have prana flowing easily also.
Correct.
Yeah, Dr. Pai, the point I wanted to mention, it was interesting you mentioned about the tejas. So it's like when you're doing the rituals, it's not like you should do any rituals by being angry at your ancestors, then you're missing the whole point. You shouldn't be like angrily you shouldn't be angry at your mother or, when you're doing the rituals, because these energies are integrally tied with our emotions as well. So one of the foremost, foundations for this emotion, for this ritual is great. So literally like being grateful to your ancestors. That's one way you could actually, that's the whole point you are doing this ritual, first place. So you have gratitude to your ancestors by giving them offerings. So that way you're actually doing. So that, what you said about tejas, like why you shouldn't be gossiping when you're doing the ritual, you should have that attitude when you're doing something. And then that would amplify the connections you have with the ancestors again. And that would again ease up your karma and energetic karma and things like that. So, yeah.
See, Santhip, there is another thing. If you look at prana essentially, if I have to say, it is your kinetic energy. And your ojas is like your potential energy. Okay.
Right.
So what you have to know that when you do too much of meditation pranayama.
Do you mean tejas is the potential energy? Because it's connected with
yeah, exactly. It's a potential. It's a potential. Ojas is the potential energy. Prana is the kinetic energy.
Right.
Okay. So usually too much of prana causes a deficiency in the ojas. And hence what the rishis used to do, or the seers used to do, is when they're going into deep meditations, they used to rely heavily on herbs to increase their ojas also.
Very
to keep the balance.
Very, very interesting. Right.
That's why they used to eat certain leaves like ashwagandha, shatavari, ginseng, which is, all these build a lot of ojas in the body. Ashwagandha, ginseng, Indian ginseng it is called. Ashwagandha is called
Right.
Indian ginseng. So
Right.
then, Shavatri. There are so many other
Shadavari.
herbs. Saravari, yeah, Saravari. That's right. Or you
Yeah.
say what is the other one? Aloe vera.
Aloe vera. Right.
Aloe vera is a very good herb for actually increasing the ojas.
Yeah, I've
When,
seen a lot of martial artists take herbs because that kind of
yeah,
explains also. Yeah,
that is
because they do heavy prana.
exactly
So
when the pranas are moving in the body, it brings down the ojas,
right.
and that's why you take a lot of these supplements of these so that you can enhance. So whether it is seers or whether it's martial arts, all of them use
Right.
a lot of prana.
Right. Right. So Ojas is the potential energy, Prana is the kinetic energy, and Tejas would be somewhere in between.
Somewhere
Is
in
that
between, yeah.
right? Okay. Yeah, because I was just trying to relate when you said potential energy. Is it more connected with Ketu or Saturn? So makes sense that too. Ketu is a hidden potential, things like that.
See, if you see the black sesame seeds, it is more
Right.
Rahu. Saturn
Interesting.
Rahu.
Right.
Saturn Rahu.
Right. Right. Definitely.
Okay.
That makes sense. Right.
So Kushakras is more Ketu.
Right. And this is the Rahu element.
Yeah,
Very
it's a
interesting.
Rahu element.
So, do you think the prana is the you mentioned prana for the as being your ice skate. So, I was just curious because prana means life force. Is the life of the person being involved when you're doing? Is that can you consider that or in the ritual?
It's a ritual. You're trying to invoke the spirit of your ancestors through these three elements.
Right.
Basically, you're trying to bring him down here, and you're going to give him all that offerings. With the
Right.
water, you
Right.
give him water, you give him, and then finally, what you do? You feed the crows, right?
Right. Right.
You give it to the cows, the crows, and
Right.
any other animal like the dogs or whatever which comes in. But cows and crows, usually first crow is offered in
Right.
Tarpanam, and then it is given to the cow. If there is a cow in the house, the cows will have that.
So it's not the life force, the prana from your body, but it's the prana that's being offered in the rice cake itself.
See, ultimately, what it is, it's your own prana, isn't it? You're a part and parcel of everything. So
Right, right, right.
basically,
Okay.
by
Right,
honoring them and taking care of your children, you are honoring yourself.
right. Interesting. Makes
Children
sense.
are your future, ancestors are your past.
Right,
You are the connecting
right,
point between the future and the past because you are the present.
right,
By
right,
honoring your past, you would be
right,
honoring your future as well. Because that's why
right,
you give Tarpanam to 6 generations, 3 generations before you, and
right,
including you 2 generations ahead. So you are one of the generations. So six,
right,
three previous, fourth one is you, fifth one is your son, and sixth one is your grandson.
right. So there will be 5 rice balls corresponding to each generations usually, right? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
six, I guess.
Right.
Six,
Six, right? Six generations, right?
6 generations. So three past, which is
Right,
you give it to your father, your grandfather, and your great grandfather.
right,
Then one is yourself. Okay. Then your son and your
right.
grandson.
Yeah, kind of because the prana is the kinetic energy, so kinetic energy should be your energy towards your children. That kind of makes
Exactly.
sense.
So if you see you had shown one picture where you have lamps kept in a row. Do you
Right,
see that? So
right,
you are one of the lamps who is lighting the next lamp, and
right,
the next lamp will start lighting the lamps ahead, so that you can see that the lineage of lights will
right,
actually spread and will grow.
right. Very interesting, Dr. Pai.
It's like you have the
This
candle
was
which has got the
right,
flame, and you light the next candle. That is your son,
right,
okay, or your children, and then you light, and he in turn lights the next candle.
right, right. Yeah, this was great, Dr. Pai. This was great. And, I never fully understood the ritual much. No one explained it perfectly. Like all elements are understood perfectly now. This was great. So anyone can do the sesame seed ritual in their home. That's one simple thing they can do, or make rice cakes and offer
Yeah, but there is a thing
Pushak.
that's saying that if your father is alive, then you shouldn't be
Right,
giving tarpan. But you can always
right,
give oblations to your ancestors on, you can just offer water or food or whatever, and
right,
give with a sincere prayer. You go on your knees and you give a sincere prayer to your ancestors. They will come and they will help you. But for the
right.
tarpanam ritual, your father has to be there. When your father is there, you cannot do it, and
Right,
after your father, you have the right to do the tarpanam.
right, right. What about if your father isn't doing it? Then can you do it?
No, I don't know. You should ask a Vedic priest because I'm not trained, but I
Right,
think you should
right,
ask the Vedic priest. Usually they would say no when your father is alive.
right.
Or when your grandfather is alive, then your father cannot do it.
I see. Right. Okay. Right. Yeah, I've seen some people do it. I think P.V. Narasimha Rao, the author of Jagannath Ora, he's like such an, but if you're doing it, you can do it. Something along those lines.
Or
But
you can choose this Mahalaya Amavasya, Pitru Paksha.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
when
It's
it's when universally everybody can do it.
right. It's a good thing you mentioned Pitru Paksha because my next slide is about Pitru Paksha and Shraddh. Because yeah, the first thing is that there is a story of how Varaha avatar of Vishnu is how he was the first person who started the ritual. What he did was that he's supposed to have placed three balls of rice in the on a kusha grass in the south direction. This is the direction which you are supposed to face when you are doing the tarpan ritual. He said, let this be the father, the grandfather, and great grandfather, which Dr. Pai said. But you can also extend it forward to 3 more generations in the future generation. He said this and then he vanished after that. Then there's also another story that's attributed to Sage Atri, but how he remembered his ancestors by making some offerings, and then how he realized the rich potential there and how that came on. That's another thing. But Varaha is very interesting because Varaha is connected with Rahu, and sesame seed is again, you can see the connection with Rahu there. So that was very interesting.
And even the
And
south direction also, you can say southwest or other Rahu.
right, south direction is Rahu. Yeah, southwest.
Yeah,
So probably
southwest.
makes sense.
South direction would be Mars.
Right, south that should be Mars. Yeah, but yeah, in a way, Mars is also linked, I suppose, because Ashwini again is falling in Mars Rashi, and Scorpio is connecting with Ketu anyway, so kind of makes sense in that. So that's the one origin story of Shraddh ritual, and then there is the story of Pitru Paksha. The image you see here is that of Karna, the Mahabharata warrior who died in at the hands of Arjuna. So Karna supposedly made a lot of wealth to all the humans. You supposedly used to give a lot of wealth, clothes, all of such garments. But apparently he never offered any food to the ancestors. So when he passed away, when he met either Indra or Yama, depending upon the version of the story which you hear, both of them said, "Okay, here is all the houses, the clothes, the gold you have on this astral world. Here's for you to enjoy." But then he was very thirsty and he was hungry. What is the food? What can I do with wealth? They said you didn't offer anything to the ancestors, so there's no bank balance for you here as far as food and water is concerned. So Karna was okay. I didn't know I had an ancestor. I had to do this ritual. What can I? And it is said that there is a time between 2 weeks time period before Navaratri begins called Pitru Paksha. That was the time when he offered to all his ancestors food and water, the same Tarpan ritual which we saw. And after that, came back, and then he was finally able to eat in his palace in astral world. So that's one story of Pitru Paksha. And the key thing is that there is this time frame when sun is transiting through Uttara Falguni or through Virgo, I suppose. Then that's when you can honor your specific ancestors based on the tithi they were born, or they passed away. I think they passed away. That's the tithi you choose for doing the Pitru Paksha. I've seen in Kerala they do it based on Nakshatra. Certain Nakshatra they do. That's when they Titi concept is very interesting. So, but probably both are interlinked. Who knows? And the thing is,
yeah, another thing, Santhip, is when Sun is transiting Uttara Falguni, you have to know the deity of Uttara Falguni is Aryaman, and Aryaman is called the king of the ancestors. So he's one of the
right.
So we pay oblations to the ancestors, and when Sun is or passing through his own nakshatra, isn't it?
Right.
Uttara Falguni is
chief of the ancestors.
Chief of the ancestors, and Sun is transiting through a Sun rule nakshatra, which is Uttara Falguni.
Right. So again, we are seeing the Sun connection here, very strong Sun connection here. So that's very, very. And I think Karna was the son of
Surya.
which god was Surya again. So great. So again, like you have the sun rule connection. Sun nakshatra is prominent during Karna's thing. Very, very interesting, Dr. Pai. So yeah, that's the story of. And Shraddha is the time of the anniversary, if I'm not mistaken. Shraddha is the time of the death anniversary of the of your grandparents, and you are supposed to honor your grandparents with this ritual again during Shraddha. So this is what Dr. Pai was saying. If the father is alive, the father has the right to do it for your grandfather and things like that. But at the same time, you can do the natural 4 elements offering to ancestors, even if you don't do the Tarpan ritual. There's a Tarpan ritual. You probably need your father being alive or involved. That's one thing. But again, like up to the practitioner. Different versions are out there. So that's one thing. So Shraddha and Pitru Paksha, that's very interesting. And then, so this is like the summarizing slide of all the ancestral knowledge which I've shared. So you have the sun connection that is clearly seen here. How ultimately you're acknowledging the sun god in one way or the other. So that's why most of the rituals are done during sunrise, or you make the ancestral offering sunset time. That's one prime time you can do. Or during sunrise is also a great time. How these ancestors are literally the guardian angels in your lives. Why? Because ancestors are energetically more closer to you than even to reach the gods. You have to establish a strong connection with the gods. It's take time and effort, dedication, sadhana to reach the gods, to make sure that a prayer that you make in front of the gods passes through the highway straight to the god. You need to have that strong connection through your sadhana. But the ancestors, the beauty of the ancestors is that they are immediately connected to you. So once you honor your ancestors, immediately you are activating that connection, and you are appeasing those energies. Those energies can be cleared out. And again, I mentioned how the children can be your guardian angels. These are many Magha natives would find the children acting as guardian angels to them. That's one thing I've seen. So literally, again, finally, their ancestors help you. So ancestors are the energy of the ancestors in the astral world. So when you pass on, you'll enter into the astral world. That's when this energy which you offer to the ancestors will be there for you to access. That's one thing. So that's what I wrote here: by taking care of your astral body needs after your death. That's what Karna had to deal with. That's what everyone of us will have to deal with. The prime time for offering the ancestors is during new moon and potentially during full moon time as well. So new moon you should be doing by default. If you are making offerings to ancestors, doing the 4 elements thing, at least the basic 4 elements thing, during new moon, that's the best thing. And during full moon time also, I've seen Dr. Pai has mentioned full moon has been corresponding with Pitris as per one classic. So full moon time is also one potential time. And definitely you should be commemorating the Shraddha or the death anniversary. So it can be however it is culturally relevant to you. So it can be Nakshatra, can be Tithi, can also be the same 1 year anniversary. That can also be at least how honoring is taking place then. And definitely during Pitru Paksha is clearly it's like a prime time again, when you can easily appease your ancestors and the time frame and you can use it. Yeah, and this is like the summary of all the ancestral knowledge. So the ancestors, the reason why I'm saying all of this ancestral knowledge is because Rahu is in Magha, and I've seen many charts where people are having to deal with their ancestors. And really the best thing which I've seen best advice you could give to these native to begin honoring your ancestors, begin to offer elements to your ancestors, try to do tarpan ritual for your ancestors, try to even I heard one astrologer simply say that take water in your hand every morning and simply offer it through your this area. Just say Pitrudeva Nama, and simply offer it like this. If you want to your divine forefathers, you like this and honor the sages like this. Take water in your hand and then offer it like this. And when your best is when you can do it to the sunrise, to the sun, obviously, because sun is again connected to ancestors and things like that. This is the one thing. This is if you have any planets in Magha and Magha is causing you trouble, difficulty, this is something you need to be doing, because that's why you have these difficulties. Your ancestors aren't pleased. But if you have something planet that is doing great in Magha, do this and then the effects will be multiplied 10 times better. So that's one real suggestion I have, to actually honor your ancestors. And that's why I wanted Dr. Pai and I discuss about making 2-part videos. So this would be, I think, good point to end this part. So maybe the next part we can talk about deeper aspects of Magha Nakshatra, Dr. Pai.
Yes, Santhip, because this topic was so deep, and it was very important that Santhip discusses about the nitty-gritties and also gives you the background of Magha Nakshatra and the Pitris and the forefathers. And that's why we said let's do it in 2 parts. So the next part, when we do this, we'll be covering the charts and looking at how to look at the different aspects of Magha. So Santhip, I think this was one of the best lessons I have heard on Magha Nakshatra, and I was absolutely thrilled to know the depth of knowledge that you are sharing with us today.
Yeah, Dr. Sharing. One quick point I wanted to ask you before we ended this was, what do you think about Kula temples and family temples and things like that? Because it seems like any Ketu ruled nakshatras or Rahu ruled nakshatras will have some kind of family temple karma, and this would be more prominent in Indians for sure, because they have this tradition of establishing a family temple, Kuldevi temple, and probably in foreign cultures where they have an ancestor shrine or something like that, I suppose, where there is a shrine where your ancestors. So what do you think, what are the best steps for a Magha native or any native with respect to their Kuldevi temple, the Kuldeva temple, things like that?
See, what I've also mentioned is it is always better to go and connect with your deity, your family deity. Whenever Magha Nakshatra is operating or moon is transiting Magha Nakshatra, or even when moon is transiting Mula Nakshatra, because it's taking you back to the roots.
Right.
And, many families that I've seen who have kind of believe that they have these curses, it's not actually a curse. It is just that you have forgotten what our ancestors have done for us. When you have inherited their property, when you have inherited their genes, when you have inherited all the materialistic things, gold, especially in India, your gold it's kind of a family. You never sell the gold, the jewelry in the house. It's always passed on from one generation to another. And what is gold? Which planet signifies gold?
Sun.
Exactly. So you're trying to preserve the gold in the family and you're passing it on. That's like you're passing on the sun from one generation to another generation.
Right.
And that's why they say, whenever you have somebody come to you for a consultation, if you're doing a professional practice, whenever you draw the chart, the Prashna chart, okay, then you see if there is Jupiter or Sun in the 12th house, then you can say there is something that they're doing related to the family or the lineage or to the family devata, which is not
Jupiter
being followed.
Is also gold. Jupiter is also gold.
Gold, exactly. Sun or Jupiter. Whenever they fall in the 12th house, then immediately you can say there is some Kula Devata issue or there is some problem in the lineage. Some rituals which needed to be followed by, or which rituals have been followed by your ancestors, you are currently forgotten it, or you're not following those rituals.
Right.
Because
very interesting.
sometimes there are certain promises which are given by your ancestors.
Right.
Okay. For example, many of the people who live on the western coast of India, going down from Mumbai to Kerala, to the tip of Kerala, that's called the Konkan belt. It is called the Parashuram Kshetra. Okay,
Right.
it is Parashuram who reclaimed this land. But when he reclaimed this land from the ocean, okay, he threw his parachute or his axe and he reclaimed the land. When he reclaimed the land, there was no vegetation here, and the soil was not good for cultivation those times,
Right.
and there was no it was all only salt water because it was ocean, right?
Right.
So that is
Right.
when Parashuram actually took the help of the serpents in that area, and the serpents
Right.
actually drilled through the ground and they brought fresh water from the underneath for his descendants of Parashuram.
Right.
And because of that, he gave a oath
Right.
to the serpents, saying that we're never going to harm your habitat, and we will worship you because you gave us water to drink when we needed it.
Right.
And that's why you see all the lineages of families which have gone, who have families along the coastal line, the western coastline of India. That's where you see these people have more
Right.
problems with Nagadosh, Sarpadosh, the serpent problems, is because somewhere either
Right.
their habitat was because of urbanization. You have cut down, the deforestations have happened. The serpents have died, their children have
Right.
died in the
Right.
deforestation, or even for
Right.
making your cultivation, you have removed some of the forest areas to make it cultivatable. So these are the
Right.
curses because it is a oath given, or it was a promise given by our lineage guru, which is Parashuram,
Right.
for this
Right.
land specifically. That's why you
Right.
see a lot of snake temples along the west coast and not much on the north
Right.
or other side.
Right. It's also in the southwestern coast of India.
Southwest.
Southwest. Right. So
Southwest is
yeah.
again is Rahu. It's the serpents.
Right. Exactly. Right. Very interesting, Dr. Pal, because one thing I've seen here is that many many family temples are neglected, and because of which the entire family is also kind of go down. And that's seems to be, it's as if that exactly you brought about a lot of points about how the land which you inherit will contain the energetic energies which brought in the gold, brought in, which is connected with the land as well. So it's like the gold. I read about this, that a rich man once offered a gold which he made through stealing and stuff, like spiritual guru for the organizer. The guru literally kicked the gold coins out, gold out. The tray where gold coins were kept was out. Why? Because the energies and negative energies at a gold coin was easily visible for the spiritual master, and he just kicked that money out. So that he didn't want to bring any kind of negative energetic attachments to his organization by accepting wrong donations, things like that, or money made through unlawful means. Again, there was karma attached to that. It can make sense that when you're getting or eating something, you will inherit the energies that were relevant or placed or were prominent in that region. So like inheriting land would mean, if you if it was blood money land, or blood was spilled over the land, then clearly those energies will be there. You'll have to deal with that. So it will, if there's negative energy, then there'll be negativity in your life, a lot of issues after the land and things like that. But then, so it's very how even family temples are very great to be, it's often associated with oaths and stuff. So you are making energetic promises and energetic oaths that you will honor this god and things like that, and suddenly you're breaking it up. Then those, it's like you're creating an unbalance in the nature, the energetic nature. In the nature's plane of energy, there is one unbalance that is owed through your karma. So what you said makes absolute sense, especially and lot I've seen many couples with Nagadosh, many serpents related issues, something like that. And And in fact, it was also interesting you mentioned gold as well, because one of the primes in Kerala to deal with your family problems is to using a gold prashna or a swarna prashna. They use a gold coin thing, in which you literally decode your ancestors' karmas, and they say this is the exact reason why you're suffering this kind of thing. Your ancestors cut a tree because of which you did this. Things. Great. This was great, Dr. Pai. I learned of this Magha session, but definitely looking forward to part 2 as well.
Definitely. I think, we just had the moon transit through Magha. So that's why I think those energies. And remember, whenever now moon is transiting, you have even Rahu there. So it's, Rahu is there in Magha and moon is transiting through Magha. A lot of those energies are coming out.
Right.
That old ancient knowledge will come out and we'll all learn through that. So thank you very much, Santhip, for coming today and teaching us.
Right.
It's very impressive. So we'll again have the part 2 of this version. And let's discuss more on the charts. So thank you, Santhip.
Right. Sure thing, Doctor.